I've just watched today's episode, and I wanted to take this opportunity to speak directly to you. Firstly, the We Need to Talk team and I have considered this episode at length. Suicide is a difficult topic, but one we felt was important in our mission to talk openly about mental health. Lou has lived an incredible and unique life, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy hearing about how her career has taken her all over the world, working with the world's most talented individuals. Our conversation includes Lou's close friendship with Caroline Flack, who sadly took her own life. Lou has been impacted by a number of losses, and today she shares her understanding of this difficult subject. With the support of the Samaritans, we've approached this episode with sensitivity and care. In the episode description, you'll find links to organizations that can provide help and support. We all need to talk.
I worked for One Direction.
You had a very intimate look at one of the most successful bands. Was there anything shocking that you learned about in the industry?
How can I say this?
And you wanted to be a makeup and hair artist.
It was just a little girl dream, One Direction. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger. We never really came home for 5 years.
The next big boy band.
Do you think the guys felt safe?
It's almost like something happens to people who have something amazing happen in their life, as if to be like, we need to balance this out.
It's almost a year that Liam has passed.
Tabloid articles feeds into how we treat people.
Caroline Flack was one of the biggest names in the UK, and you're a best friend.
And she was just really very real. She wasn't like a celebrity as what you would imagine. She was very open. I don't know if it was to her detriment. Everything happened all at once. I want to talk about how mental health affects so many people. The issue that we have is that if it's not a physical illness, it's not really recognised. I think Caroline pioneered that movement. You can be anything in the world, just be kind.
So there's one more area that I'd love to talk to you about. Lou Teasdale, we need to talk. And we are talking.
We're talking.
All right. Can I start with why are you willing and wanting and open to talk in a long format now?
Well, I think that mainly I'm not a celebrity myself. I worked for celebrities. My boyfriend is a celebrity. A lot of my friends are celebrities, but I actually was hair and makeup originally. And I think that I should talk about my experiences and the things that have happened and how suicide specifically has affected me, and now the work that I'm doing and how it affects so many people and mental health. And that's kind of how it came about. And I've become more open to thinking about talking about some of the things that have happened in my life because I think it helps other people. And I see people come and talk on your podcast specifically, and I think it does help other people who are going through the same thing.
Yes.
So that's why I'm here, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for being here.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah. And absolutely. And where I'd love to almost begin your story, was it at 16 that you just to truly become a makeup artist?
So 17, when I was 17, I came down to London. Yeah, I managed to get into London College of Fashion, and I just did my art foundation and just worked really hard, just did whatever it took. It did take quite a few years to start getting paid, and there's so much exploitation in that industry, in the music industry, in the fashion industry, with not paying people. But it wasn't really until I was pregnant, really, that I started getting paid properly, which as a woman, I always felt like I needed my career, finish my career, and then I can stop earning money and have a baby. And actually, as soon as I was pregnant, I realised people took me seriously and that they had to pay me. Otherwise, I'm not coming. you know, and that's when I started earning proper money and being able to really support myself. And I bought a flat and things like that.
So the career we're talking about is makeup and hair artist,
yes.
correct? Okay, so I'm just curious, Why did you want to go in that direction anyway? And when did you see that that was an actual career that you could participate in? Because I don't think a lot of people realize that that's an actual career, you know? So when did you know for sure that's the direction you wanted to go in?
I don't even know how to answer that. I don't know. It was just a dream. It was just a little girl dream. Probably just from seeing it on TV, that was people's jobs. I never wanted to be the celebrity, but I wanted to be around them, and I found it really fascinating and make them feel good and be their support, I suppose.
Ah, so I didn't realize this. So Lou, you're saying you wanted to specifically be a makeup and hair artist for celebrities?
Yeah, I never worked in a salon or anything like that. I was actually on the biggest blag ever and wasn't trained at all, and managed to get as high as I could get in hair and getting paid really well and traveling the world, the biggest boy band.
You're talking about One Direction now.
Yeah, but I wasn't trained. I was makeup first, and I did a makeup course, but I worked with a hairdresser who specialised in men. So he was doing like Westlife Boys and those kind of boy bands, and I was his assistant. So he sort of barber trained me and did all of that. But actually, what I realised was it was with the male grooming side of it, it was more like making them feel really comfortable and it being undone, not really done, you know, and then feeling cool.
Break that down for me.
I think if they ever had to get another hair and makeup artist, because I couldn't do whatever in the early days when I first had my baby, they just felt like they'd done too much to them. Whereas I used to sort of, even if I would sort of blow dry their hair a little bit, I would sort of undo it at the end and make it cool. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And just a little bit rock and roll rather than technical hairdressing. And that's what I kind of mastered a craft in. And I ended up getting employed by a lot of men in the entertainment industry that wanted that look.
Okay, so you'd say that what you mastered was this done but undone look.
Yeah.
But how much of the success of a makeup and hair artist is about your ability to listen and counsel? And the reason why I say that is so I've been in the television industry for maybe about 10 years, and I never realized how important the makeup and hair artists are. Now, clearly, I don't need a hair artist, but makeup.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that an artist, whether it be television, music, etc., they come in at the beginning of the shoot or wherever they are on set, and they could be frazzled, they could be super stressed with what's going on at home, and they pour into the makeup artist. And if the makeup artist is able to listen and soothe and calm down, they can go on and perform extraordinarily well. But if the makeup artist doesn't do that, then they leave the chair frazzled and they can have a terrible performance.
Yeah, we're the therapists. Like, that's just how it was. And with my job, we were on tour, so, you know, I'd do the 5 boys, get them ready, but really then their girlfriends would come in and then we would do like little bits with their hair, and we were passing time more than anything. But or their friends then want their hair cut, or their mums or their PAs, and everyone in their life really. You know, we're all on the road. We can't really get to salon that easy. So where they would maybe sit down and then they're saying about an argument or something that's gone on for them, and you're listening and giving a little bit of advice, and then the next one generally is who it's with. And so you can kind of see how you're a bit of you're in the mechanics of it all, really, and you can say the right thing to calm it and be helpful in that situation. And I think that, for me anyway, I definitely wasn't there because I was the best hair and makeup artist that they could get, because they could go and get whoever they wanted in the world. Quite early on, they were making so much money and everybody wanted that gig because it was really exciting. And, you know, they were from up north and I was from up north, and they let me bring my little baby and look after us, and it felt like a support system for everyone, and that was really important.
But even earlier, right? I'm even thinking just early when you kind of cemented this look and you cemented who you were. So you were working with Westlife, and what was it, Boyzone?
Yeah, so Ben, who I assisted, he worked with both of those acts. And actually, our main gig was on X Factor. So we worked on the X Factor and we put together the team. And, you know, these kids would become, and Britain's Got Talent, and these kids would be coming through and they would have this huge opportunity of their lives that was about to happen. And that room was stressful, you know, that was it. What we needed to calm them down, and we needed to make them feel confident to do this, and then manage their parents who were coming in the room, riling them back up again, you know. And I think that I learned quite a lot from that time. I worked there for 4 or 5 years, and, you know, just learning people and conflict resolution and regulating themselves and things like that.
And so so you were working still with this gentleman, Ben, at X Factor, but then also on the side, Westlife, the other groups.
Yeah, so what would happen was X Factor would generally spit out a couple of big acts. So we would work with the big acts that came out that got signed by the record label. And then in promo, they would be like, Boyzone would be putting out, they were doing like a reunion at the time, I remember, and he was working with them because he'd worked with them before I worked with him when they were first around. So all these boy bands were doing these big reunion things, and he was doing all of that work. And so whoever he was working on, I would go and work, I would be his assistant.
I see. Was there anything that was shocking that you learned working in the early days, you know, that you thought, wow, I didn't realize this goes on, or I didn't realize this happens in the industry?
How can I say this? I think that when you understand mental health and you see people that are making good TV and they might not be aware of that's why it's good TV, I found it very uncomfortable to be around, and one of the cogs in that. So some of the contestants, they might not want them to look really glam because the story is that they're from poverty, basically, and that's a good story for TV. And there were a couple of times where we would, you know, glam them up and do a transformation, and then we would then get told they don't want them to look like that. And it was knocking the confidence of the person who wanted to look really nice that we were working with as a human. And I mean, you work in reality TV, you know, the duty of care with these people is a really big responsibility.
Absolutely.
Obviously, with X Factor, there was Simon Cowell, who was just very, very, still never been around anyone where when someone comes in the room, you can just feel the power. And he really did have final say over quite a lot of things, or someone who worked for Simon, who was sort of speaking for Simon in that scenario. But quite often, that was probably the most detached person from the contestant and being in the room and dealing with their feelings and what they wanted.
Wow. So it was Simon first, and then kind of everyone
Producers,
else.
yeah.
Producers, yeah. Wow. So working in that environment, though, I would imagine it's high stress. Because you mentioned, because you have people coming in for their shot, what they feel is their one shot at fame. You have loved ones surrounding them. You have judges who probably have favorites, producers, etc. So it does seem like it's high stress.
What I think I've learned from working in that and things that have happened since with people in the public eye who are dealing with extreme mental health episodes, that happened a couple of times with contestants on shows that I've worked on, where you're trying to keep it with management and record labels and producers looking after them, and actually they're not qualified to do that. Again, with Caroline, where we needed intervention and it to be taken seriously and professional, because we weren't qualified to handle that. And I think with mental health, it's left on friends and family and employers, really. Whereas with physical health, you know, we wouldn't be expected if there was an injury to stitch it up. It would even something small goes to a professional. Whereas with mental health, it's left to unqualified people every day, and especially in the industry like this, because that information then becomes public information, which is damaging to people's careers and to the show and to everybody involved in the show. And so it's all kept under wraps. And then those people become really vulnerable.
Yes, yes. Now, you just mentioned Caroline Flack. So you met Caroline, I believe, at X Factor. Is that where you met?
No, I did already know her. So we were like, we were both Camden party girls back then. So I did already know her, and I would see her out, but then I would see her at work as well. And so there was always like a little nod. And then, but I was doing Ollie Murs, and she worked with Ollie Murs on Extra Factor, and they worked together. And around that time, we got really, really close friends.
Okay.
And we were going through the same stuff personally. We were trying to have a career in this industry, so busy all the time. And then that makes your whole relationship fall apart. And the same thing with men, and we were the same age. And so we just ended up attached to each other.
All right. Fair enough. So now X Factor is where you met this small group called One Direction.
Yes. Yeah.
So when One Direction comes off of X Factor, they're already huge, right? And I said little group very facetiously, right? Because they go on to sell 70 million plus albums, like massive, one of the best-selling pop groups of all time. So they leave X Factor, they're huge. You're working now, you've worked with lots of different in particular, you're only working with men. Is that correct?
I ended up specializing in men, yeah.
Okay. So how is it that you begin working with One Direction?
So I was actually pregnant when I met them. And so I wanted boys, and they were really like nurturing with me, and I felt like they would just look after me, and I just wanted to work with them. I didn't realize at the time how big they would be. I actually thought it would be an easier gig than one of the big female acts, where it's sort of harder work. You've got to carry a lot more kit around for one of the girls or whatever. So I just thought, they're cool. They're really easygoing. They're nice to me. I'm going to stick with that. And they just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow. Did you have anyone assisting you, or was it only you working for One Direction?
So, no, I just worked for them on my own, but later on in the tour, maybe 4 years later, Louis from One Direction, his younger sister, her mum called me up and was like, she hasn't got into sixth form and she wants to do what you do, so she's coming to be your assistant. And I didn't really have much say, but she ended up being my assistant, and actually she was like a little grafter, and she ended up teaching me so much, because the world of social media was taking over the beauty industry, and she was 16, so she knew all of that, and I just wouldn't have been across the social media world like I was so early on if it wasn't for her. And she taught me a lot that ended up making me secure in my career even after One Direction had finished, because I ended up going into that side of things because of her.
Wow, look at that. This is Lottie.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about this tour that you think you're going on, this little tour with this band that probably won't become huge.
Yeah. So I just had a baby, and they'd said, what about if you bring her, because the boys really want you, and we can do this, and some logistic discussions. And actually never really came home for 5 years from that. It just kept going, and more would get booked in because it was going so well. And it just spiraled into what it turned into. And I was committed. I was in it with them. What their diary was my diary. I would never say I can't be there, because they can't do that. And the commitment was there. Then they committed to me. I committed to them. And that was it.
Hey there, real quick. If you're enjoying this conversation, take a second to hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. It's a small click that makes a big difference. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna get back into it. I think what's so interesting is you had a very intimate look at one of the most successful bands as they climbed the charts.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you notice about how they changed as their notoriety grew?
I think that when people become more successful, they do naturally become a lot more, they keep their circle smaller. And we sort of had 5 circles really on our tour. And I think that it just became really difficult for them to go after what they wanted, because there was kind of this bigger picture going on that was so successful. They had to all really not make it about them, but they all had things that they wanted to achieve. And I think with that gig specifically, that there just had to be an end point, because it wasn't sustainable, because there were 5 human beings with 5, life goals and things that they want. Even people on the team, we were being offered these opportunities because it was so successful that we couldn't take.
Right.
They were being offered movies, they were being offered all of these things. And so to keep touring as a group wasn't really possible if they wanted to achieve anything, what they wanted to achieve outside of that. So, I mean, I would love them to come back together and do something. I hope that they do, because I think that's actually, even though they've gone on to do amazing things, I think now when you look back at what they were doing, that was what was cool.
Yes.
And that was why all us fans are there, because it was really cool. But then they've gone off to do all of the things that they want to do, and so have we and everybody who was part of it.
Yeah. But it makes sense in that as the whole enterprise became more successful, everyone's getting opportunities.
Yeah.
Right, as a result of that.
Yeah.
When you think back to the highs and lows, right, what were some of the greatest highs of traveling with the band throughout the world with your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
What were some of those greatest highs for you?
I can never think of anything specific, and that is because it's such a blur, really. Even just how it would be with some of the hotels and the crowds of fans that were waiting all the time, and it sort of meant we couldn't really do much. It was we would me and Lottie would kind of try and sneak out and get to like a Zara or a Starbucks or something to try and get out of the hotel, but really we were waiting for the time off to be able to just go on our holiday or things like that, because the time on tour was quite hard work to do anything fun.
Yes.
They were going on like the biggest shows in the world, and we were on a private jet every day and all of that. But really that becomes if that just becomes normal life and not that exciting after, my mum used to come out to help me with the baby. She'd just be like videoing like the police convoy and like the jet and like videoing Harry what he's doing. I'm like, oh my God, stop filming him. Like, and she's like so excited, and it becomes a bit of an eye roll really when you're doing it.
What are you doing?
Because you're doing your job. And
so what stands out most are the sea of fans.
Yeah, the sea of fans, and like the people, they would be like Barack Obama there, or yeah, everyone, anyone you could think of. I remember we saw Eminem at something, and his daughter was there, and they would just be like, everyone you could think of would have kids that wanted to come and see One Direction wherever we were in the world.
I always find it interesting when you see someone like a Barack Obama, for example. I would imagine it was his daughters that wanted to come see One Direction.
Yeah.
So Sasha and Malia. So you think, okay, here's Barack Obama. At that time, was he president of the United States? He's president of the United States. Mm-hmm. Comes to see this group, right, that you're working with. What does that teach you or show you about humanity?
Just that we're all the same.
So you talked about the sea of fans. I would imagine that fans did some pretty wild things to get to the boys. Mm-hmm. What were some of those?
There would be just like transit vans full of girls along the motorway, and they've opened the side thing and they're trying to touch the car, and we're all driving, and it's really, really dangerous.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Did they break into the hotels?
They would always be in the hotels, yeah, because they would just book rooms. So really they were, because they were young, they would generally do as they were told. So if they were in the swimming pool or the gym and we would go in the gym, if security would say, you need to get out for now, they would do as they were told.
Okay.
Whereas some of the older people that would come, and there were a few elderly fans that would come everywhere, they sort of don't get moved on as much.
Interesting.
But actually, I would find that more threatening. I didn't understand that as much as the younger fans of why they were there again when they were in the last hotel and now you're in this. And
oh, wow. So they would just book throughout the whole tour and just stay with you all.
Yeah. And they would have a lot of information, and some of them were like elderly.
Do you think the guys felt safe all the time?
No.
Yeah, I would imagine not whatsoever, with that. So when you look back at styles, hairstyles, makeup in particular, but makeup and hairstyles, are there any that you are particularly proud of?
So the one that went really viral that I love was it wasn't an accident, but did you ever see the film Cry Baby, Johnny Depp?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah.
And I was doing Zayn's hair and he had this like big quiff and I flipped this little bit down. Do you remember he had like one strand of hair?
Yes.
And he kept pushing it back as if it was wrong. And I was like, that's supposed to be down there. Like, leave it. It's really cool. He was like, what? And I was like, no, it's really cool. Like, just get down the carpet with that flop down like that. And that's like, that went really, really viral. And a load of boys that I knew from like London were texting me like, I want that strand of hair. Like, and I still see it now sometimes. I still see people do that. And that was my favourite hair.
All right, I love it. I love it. See, look at that. And then isn't it interesting how you can do something like that and then it becomes a trend?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. With all the boys, unfortunately we've lost one. Are you still in touch with the others?
Yeah, so especially with last year, what happened, we all got to speak, but it's like old friends and other colleagues that I've worked with over the years. You don't want to come together because of these things, and you just do. And it's we were like a family. I feel like a lot of the boys had a lot of tragedy in their families as well, and it's almost like something happens to people who have something amazing happen in their life, as if to be like, we need to balance this out because it's not fair or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the time, I cannot believe it. It's almost a year that Liam has passed. But when you think now, when you reflect back and you look at his life and his legacy and your relationship with him, what does it all mean to you?
I do wish that I'd kept in touch with him more, because he would always reach out and try and chat. And he was always quite lost and everyone always worried about him. And yeah, it reminded me of the Caroline situation as well. Like Liam, when he was in One Direction, was really well protected. The boys would go and do an interview and it would get edited to make them look good. That's how TV interviews for pop bands worked. And since then, social media has become ruthless. What people want to watch, unfortunately, has turned so toxic. And everyone forgets that there's a human being when they're sharing this stuff. He was an empathetic person. If he was ever reaching out to me, it was about looks and my family and on my relationship and how I was on a deeper level. And, I think the past few years of his career, I'm not surprised he was struggling. And again, people would say, who's looking after him?
Right.
Well, his friends, his girlfriend, his parents, and a whole lot of people not qualified to look after mental health. And probably not many people who are, because they don't really exist. That setup, any sort of structure for that doesn't really exist.
No. When you just mentioned the industry is so savage, that's a term or phrase that I've heard time and time again with almost all of our guests. But how would you qualify that? You know, like when you think about the industry being savage, in particular in Liam's case, what does that mean exactly to you?
For example, they'll write a story and they're responsible for, they control people's minds who are reading it, you know, so that their narrative with Caroline, if they would write a positive story about her, she would feel confident to go out and her social media comments would improve and start being a lot nicer because the tabloid articles were positive, and it really feeds into how people would be treating her, even if we were in you know, in Topshop or whatever. And then when they were negative, when the articles were negative, you know, whatever they started portraying her to be towards the end, she would be scared to leave the house because people would go for her because what they write there goes into the whole nation's heads.
Right.
And then these people are generally, you know, not weak, because they certainly aren't weak, but, you know, people who might not be able to cope with that.
Yes.
And shouldn't have to. And unfortunately, it's a part of being in the public eye, and there's not really any sort of regulation to protect them from it. And so they just become very, very vulnerable, and their mental health spiraling, and there's not really anybody who can help it.
Yes. And then too, you know, you just mentioned something that I think is very important that everyone should take a moment and think about and reflect on, is that you mentioned, especially with the One Direction case, is that when they were in an interview, it was edited a certain way to make them look good, right? So these bands, but also if you're part of a television show, etc., you're kind of wrapped. You have a PR team, a communications team, a management team that kind of wraps around you so that you will look good, so that the audience will like you, and the audience will want to see more of you, so that that entity can make more money, in essence, right?
Yeah.
But the moment that you start to go off on your own, or post things on your own without the confirmation of this entity, then you're more susceptible to these negative comments, right? And the rise of One Direction came with the popularity of the internet, or I'm sorry, the popularity of social media.
Yeah.
And just as social media became popular, that's also, once it did start to become popular, is really where you saw the beginning of the trolls, the beginning of this enormous amount of hate that's come from social media, the keyboard warriors, in essence. So I would imagine this is part of what you're saying with regard to the savageness of the industry, the role that media, traditional media, and social media plays.
Yep.
Yeah.
Paul's about to show you a presentation he made in Adobe Express, so you better be nice.
You might not know this, but I am the proud co-owner of the mighty Sutton United Football Club. And this year, I had the honor of designing our away kit. First things first, Sutton Amber, black, the crest, the fonts, locked in with our sponsor, Adobe Express's brand kit. I was presenting to the board, and the story I wanted to tell was that we're modern. We're sleek. Yes, we were founded in 1898, but we're still a club that belongs in 2025. I wanted everyone, from a 10-year-old to a 90-year-old in the stands, to say, I want that. All over Sutton United script pattern. Mono crest, amber trim. I obsessed over the collar.
Okay, Paul, are you ready?
Yes! 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 Look at that! Look at that! That is it! That is it! Yes.
Got a pitch to make? Adobe Express is the quick, easy, and free app to create anything, like this presentation.
Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really thought about how you love? Not who, but how. Most of us don't. We're moving fast, doing life, hoping love just shows up and sticks. But that's not how real connection works. So I've created something different. It's called Love Better, and I'm taking it on tour. A live experience for anyone who wants to build deeper, more meaningful connection. We'll unpack the lessons from the couples you've seen me coach. I'll share stories I've never told on camera, and you'll walk away with tools you could use right away. This isn't a show you just sit back and watch. It's a night of honesty, insight, music, and connection designed to make you walk away with something real. Come solo, bring a partner, bring your crew. Everyone's welcome. But seats are limited, and they will go. Tickets are on sale right now at livenation.co.uk. I can't wait to see you there. Just a heads up, this conversation includes difficult topics, including suicide. We've included links in the episode description, and please watch with care. I came to the UK in 2018.
Right.
And when I got here, quite honestly, Lou, I feel as if Caroline was one of the biggest names in the UK.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. Because she had when did she start Love Island?
I'm not sure. She did about 5 years, I think.
Okay. Because this is just my impression, is that, so I got here, at that time, Love Island must have been one of, if not the biggest show here, and she was presenting for Love Island. I felt like she was everywhere, in the press. And from my impression is I always thought that she was beloved by the public.
Yeah.
So that was my looking from the outside. I was like, wow, this Caroline Flack, she's a superstar here. How did you see your friend? She was your best friend, right? How? I mean, describe how you felt like you saw her, but how did she see herself right around that time?
I think that she was so popular because she was very good at, she was very good at putting across on TV that girl best mate character. And she did that on Love Island. She did it on X Factor as well. She could connect with the contestants like your mate. And she did that on Love Island, and she would keep in touch with all the contestants, and she was just really very, very real. And that's what I liked about her. She wasn't like a celebrity as what you would imagine. She was very real. She would go to bed in her makeup, and she was very open. I don't know if it was to her detriment, but she would just post whatever on her Instagram. There was nothing really curated about it, and she was controversial, and sometimes she would then just let her boyfriend's arguments play out on there, which probably did affect things for her when it came to commercial deals or whatever. But really, she was very, very popular because she was so real.
Yes.
And she was a really, really good friend. Even when she was going through the worst of it right at the end, she was still really considerate and making sure she got my right oat milk when I came round, and thinking of me. And I think that just came across, and that's why everyone loved her. And then I think she looked relatable. Don't think she was beautiful, but I think she didn't have that overly glam look. She was who she was. She was really comfortable with who she was. And, she had the most requested hairstyle in all the salons, and everyone would just want her. Yeah, and that was just who, everyone wanted her in their friend group. I think that's why she was. But we were lucky enough to have her in ours.
Look at that. Look at that. Did you have anything to do with her hairstyle?
I did her hair a couple of times, but I never really like working with friends. I'd get involved a little bit with, advice or whatever with her look, or, when she was choosing outfits and things. But really, I think with girls especially, you need to be careful with that stuff.
Yes. So, while matchmaking, my rule is I'll never matchmake a friend or family member.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
It's
like keep the profession.
It's too stressful.
It is.
It's too stressful.
It's too much. So you two, right, were incredibly close. What do you believe was most misunderstood about Caroline?
I think most people loved her. Everyone had something to say about her, because I think people are judgmental of real women and women on TV, and she would let it affect her too much. I think that people would assume that celebrities can just brush that off, and most of them can't. And she just wasn't as confident as you would think that she was. She was confident in a sense that she could walk into a room and tell a huge table of really important people a story and have everyone falling on the floor laughing. And I think was kind of my first experience of anyone like that. And I'm not like that at all. But she, behind closed doors, she wasn't confident at all. And she would just read all her comments too much and let them affect her. And I think, again, she didn't have that secure base with a relationship. She was quite tortured by men and the relationships that she chose. And I think if she was going home to a loving husband, I don't think it would have happened.
Wow.
Because I think she would have been able to cope.
Okay. So the only one, who did she have? Who was her safe space?
So she did have like a really nice group of friends, and we're all still really close. And she had really close friends in the industry that, especially towards the end, were really reaching out. Like everyone reached out, and everyone with the best intentions reached out to her. And we were there consistently. She was never on her own or anything like that. She actually moved in to an apartment around the corner from mine, so that we were really close. And her sister and mum were a little bit up north, so between us and them, we were kind of all doing what we needed to do. But she had criminal proceedings, she had the press, she had a relationship breakdown, just all at once.
Oh, exactly. Can we talk about this? So what year is this?
So this was 29. She died in 2020. So 2019 was like the beginning of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2018, I feel like Caroline Flack is on top of the world.
Yeah. And Love Island was huge, and she was doing a lot of big endorsement deals and things like that. And I think the fact that this happened at this point in her life as well made it more to lose.
Okay. So then what happens what happens after 2018?
So what happened was she had a huge blowout with her boyfriend where the police were involved, and she ended up getting arrested. And I think from there, everything she felt like she couldn't cope with, the way the press portrayed her, the fact that she couldn't see her boyfriend at the time because she had bail conditions. She then lost her job and all her contracts.
So she lost the job at Love Island?
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And so, again, ITV were offering support, and her management company were trying to get involved with support. But like I said before, I feel like there was so much stress, mainly from her, for things to not be public or get out. It was about making sure nobody knew what was going on.
So, I didn't realize this so specifically. Was she let go from Love Island, and then all of the contracts that she had were all of them?
Yeah, they'll essentially sort of say things are basically put on hold because you're in criminal proceedings.
Okay. So at this point, for someone who's worked her entire life to get into the position that she was in, to now have lost it all, what did you believe was going on in her mind?
I felt a great sense of pressure on the trial that was upcoming, and I could feel that that's what she couldn't face. I think of what was going to play out. She had to go into court one day to do her plea. So she just had to say guilty or not guilty and then leave. But the prosecution started talking and went into a lot of information, which then just created a whole lot of press stories from one line that they had that made it sound really sensational. And that just made the whole thing worse just from going into court that one day. And I could feel we needed to get her to that, because not until after that would there be any sort of journey for her to heal.
I see.
But there was this really, really intense couple of months that we needed to get her through, which was almost like babysitting. And I feel like where she was attempting to end her life in that time, and there was a couple of attempts, there wasn't any professional help.
So during the court proceedings, I can't imagine what the articles that are being written. So I'd imagine that at this point, Caroline doesn't want to go out in public at all. But is she reading? She's reading the comments still?
Yeah.
Okay. Are people sending, I would imagine, hate-filled commentary?
She would even be like, she would read the comments on the Mail Online, like those awful comments, like she would read it all. And I could feel that a lot of people who would come in the room would be like, stop reading that, stop looking at your phone, as kind of advice, which would almost make her push them people away, because she would need to just sit on her phone and just read it and obsess over it and not want to hear it. So it was about kind of, okay, she's doing that and she's going to read it all, and then trying to manage that from there was impossible.
So a Guardian analysis during this time, showed that one newspaper published 99 articles mentioning Caroline Flack in the 6 months before her death. 99 articles. So it was just article after article after article. And she's reading the comments.
Well, and as well, the way that they write articles, they can use language that says one thing, and they can use language that says something else next to a picture, and they can basically make it say what they want. And, an article with a picture with a lot of blood on it, which was hers because she was self-harming, but written with language that basically describes an attempted murder scene. It's kind of, that's what the article basically said, even though they're really clever and they write it so that they're using language that suggests that with the picture, but really that's what she's dealing with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is in December, after she was charged with assaulting her partner, Lewis Burton. Caroline received twice as many negative headlines as positive. So the trend then shifts from positive to negative headlines, and she's consuming it all. How do you find out that she attempted?
I was actually out on a date, and my friend who was staying with her just called me to come to the hotel, and so I just attended to her. But I was attending to her pretty much every day around this time, and so both of them I attended once I'd realised what had happened. And I think that both of those attempts were very much like, this is how bad it is and somebody needs to do something. But what anybody could do, I don't know. That's the thing. And I think that, to be honest, I think that a lot of people in criminal proceedings probably feel like that, because it's really scary to face that. I've only ever been in civil litigation, but even that makes you feel a little bit like you're going to lose everything, and you're getting all of this correspondence that makes you feel like you're in the wrong.
Yes.
And you just can't, normal people just can't fight that. And so I think for her, it all playing out publicly was just too much. She just couldn't face the day. I think that she could have dealt with the punishment had it been private.
but not public.
Mm-hmm.
Not public.
And just that, you know, she was pleading not guilty, and so they couldn't give her a caution or anything like that. They kind of had to do that. Otherwise, if she just said guilty in the beginning, but then she needed to admit something she didn't want to, or feel she was guilty of. So that's how our country's set up. That's how our justice system works. They need to figure it out. They need to hear evidence, and you've got to go through that. Yeah. But most people, if you worked in an office, or even if you worked at this production company, you could probably go through all of that privately, and no one that you have to face at work would know. Really, you could get it dealt with. Whereas for people in the public eye, I suppose it's just too much, and then the way it gets sensationalized, every little detail.
Yes.
So if you have done something that you might be ashamed of, or being a human in an argument, you know, then
it plays out for the world.
Mm.
It plays out for the world. What? And I'm trying to figure out if the right word is responsibility, but to be honest with you, I don't know what the right word is. But what responsibility do you believe that you and everyone in her circle has for her life? Because to your point, you know, that you've made with previously, is that you're not a psychologist, you're not a psychiatrist, you're not trained in mental health. You're a best friend who loves her best friend. So what are you to do? What did you feel like at that time? What did you feel like you were supposed to do?
I'm always very, in this situation, think keeping somebody clear-headed, so not drinking and things like that. I was trying to keep her in that headspace, and I think choosing to come to my house over maybe somebody else in her circle was her making a good decision and a safe decision on that respect, because I have an alcohol-free house, and I often find people who struggle with that side of things come to me when they're trying to make a responsible decision. And so I think she wanted to do that, so that was good. But for me, it was about, you know, I was really trying to reach out, and especially where there were any professionals there, whether it was like paramedics when she did attempt, or any psychiatrist that some management had organised or whatever, I almost wanted them to take her, because I felt like I wasn't handling it.
Yes.
And I wasn't qualified to deal with it. But if she's not willing, that's actually not really a thing. That they won't. Especially where she was, I don't think she was in denial, how most be in denial. I think she was denying everything to the professionals because she was so worried what would get out. So sometimes she wouldn't even want to give them her real name, because she would think it would just go straight to the press, because they just get their stories however they get them. And so there was no truth to anyone professional coming in or even for me to be able to say, she's trying to do this, she's done this now this amount of times. That would actually anger her, because she didn't want them to have the whole picture, because then the whole picture could get into the public domain. Yeah.
Wow. So when the paramedics were coming to treat
it was all played down.
Okay.
So they weren't going to take her.
I see. Goodness.
What I find really frustrating is, and she had a couple of physical injuries because from the night where she was self-harming, and you know, the amount they tried to push professional services on an injury she had on her finger, you know, was annoying her. They were trying to turn up at the hotel and stitch her finger up and all of this, and she just didn't care. She would just like, leave me alone. She wanted help for what was going on for her, which isn't the same.
Yes.
And I've always found, you know, if someone has a terminal illness or a really scary illness like cancer or whatever, they can go into a hospital and they get offered hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of treatment because without that it's fatal. Whereas mental health, there's nothing. There's just absolutely nothing to help with it, and they don't really know what to do. And one of the nurses had actually ticked on Caroline's form thoughts of self-harm and asked her, and she said none, and she ticked none, but she was bandaging up her arm from self-harm, you know, and the same with the paramedics. The forms had said she was completely fine and just ticking the boxes, and nothing is escalated when it comes to people attempting. They just sort of are deemed high risk, but then nothing else.
Wow.
And I think,
Wow.
and I think that's kind of the issue that we have, is that if it's not a physical illness, it's not really recognised as an illness.
Yes.
Professional people did see her, and a couple of times I had, you know, it's just a bit of get her through the night, can you? You know, one of them was a bit of babysitting for you tonight, and then you can get back to your daughter tomorrow, and that was kind of it, with a bit of an eye roll, and that's kind of why I want to talk about this, because the services that do exist, which is what I'm working on, are very, very underfunded.
You were, from what I understand, you were the last person to see Caroline live. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, so the night before she'd attempted, and so the paramedics had sort of given me a big talk to get her through the night. And I always felt like I needed to get her through the night, and then in the day I could go home to my daughter and she'd be all right in the day. I was never that worried in the daytime, so I'd get too panicky in the night to leave her. So that morning, I was with another one of our friends, and we left her, and she wasn't in a good way, but yeah, we went home. My parents had come with my sister's kids and was like, come on, have a day with the kids because you've got your own life, and you know, she's not going to do anything. That kind of, I think with suicide as well, a lot of people kind of call their bluff, don't they? They give it that one where it's, if she wanted to, she would do it, but she's not. She's just doing, you know. So my parents had come and said, come on, come home, we're going to have a day with the kids. And Caroline's sister was going to come to see her. So that was all planned. And when her sister couldn't get in the flat, I just got panicky again, and I just couldn't sort of stay away. I didn't think she would have actually done it, but I was worried that she had, and I was worried that her sister was there on her own. And so in the end, my dad sort of was like, oh, come on, we'll go and see if she's all right. And then, but we're coming back here and you're having a day with the kids, you know, like that. And so in that time, it was when she actually did it, yeah.
So prior to her sister arriving?
Well, the door was locked, so she just couldn't get in.
And then, from what I understand, you also discovered her body.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Me and my dad went to see Joe, just to thinking we were going to just check she was okay and then leave her with Joe. And then we had to get a key because we just couldn't get in. We had to get in touch with the landlord and get a key. So me and Joe were kind of sat there chatting for a bit before we could get in. Still not thinking that's what she's done.
What's the first thought that comes over your mind when you realize that she's taken her life?
What was really apparent for me, you know, when you're watching a really scary film and there's something really scary behind you and you feel like something behind you and you're like this, it's really like something heavy, like chasing you or something. It's really hard to explain it. It's like an out-of-body experience, really. And yeah, I was just screaming, panicking, and glad my dad was there this time for him to deal with what needed dealing with, because you have to deal with the practicalities of what's going on whilst you're feeling such intense emotion. And panic, and that everyone texting, is she all right? Have you spoke to her? Is she all right? Have you spoke to her? Even the landlady, are you in? Is she all right? Because I had to say, we're really worried about Caroline and we need a key. And have you got in? Is she all right? Just let me know she's all right. And everybody doing those texts, and you just don't know what to say. And then trying to comfort her sister, who was with us.
Yes. Yes. Do you feel like you were ever able to properly grieve Caroline's death?
No, because I think suicide's a really hard death for people around to grieve, for a start, because it's filled with so many emotions, and I think suicide is contagious. One suicide creates 100 more people really susceptible to suicide because of the trauma from it. And it's just not a case of being sad I lost her as a friend. I don't feel like I had any capacity to just be really sad and miss her, ever really. Because I feel like we've dealt with so much, and then obviously the press off the back of then what she did do. But it was just such a, like, as well, when I say about suicide being contagious, it doesn't create an environment where, like, a lot of death brings a lot of people together. It actually, what I find is it makes a lot of people really angry and want to blame and separate instead of scoop each other up, and makes people feel shame and guilt about their role in that person's life. And that's what it brings, a lot more than, say, an illness that led to a death would bring. So it just creates such a hostile environment rather than space where people can grieve the person they love.
Yes, yes. One beautiful aspect, I would say, that's come since is the hashtag BeKind, going viral, making reference to one of Caroline's final Instagram posts where she wrote, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind."
Mm-hmm.
And what I notice is that there's probably not one day that goes by without me seeing someone use that reference.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, she was so clever with that, because obviously she had such a negative side of social media that she was receiving, but there's a really positive side to social media as well. And we do talk about mental health more because of social media. Marginalised groups can have a voice on social media now, and they just weren't heard before because there was no platform for them to speak. They were completely ignored. I feel like that post, she went, I'm going to flip this on its head because this is toxic. And I think she really pioneered quite a lot of that movement where people spoke about being kind, and it's really simple. You can be anything in the world, just do that first and foremost.
Yes.
And I feel like I don't know if she had a bit of a marketing brain on her, but she just flipped the whole thing on its head and posted that out. And then, it was the sort of ultimate FU, I think.
Yes. A bit surreal, that she posted that.
I think she just wanted to say, like, I'm hurting and this is hurting me. Like, why is it not stopping? I don't think anyone was really listening.
You were listening.
Yeah, I think that the people close to her were listening 100%. And behind closed doors, she was great. Even the day before, she was having a laugh, and we were doing a photo shoot, and it was Valentine's Day, so she was thinking about her boyfriend, and I was going on about mine, and it's quite normal.
Yes, yeah. And it was February 14th.
Mm-hmm.
So that day being Valentine's Day, you think There was something about
It was heightened.
heightened, yeah.
And we would always spend like Valentine's Day, we'd spend Christmas Day together because we were like 40 and single. So we thought that was so hard for us and we needed each other like that. And so that's why I was there, really.
Okay. What about what you want the world to know about the experience that you went through with Caroline and those in that last chapter of her life?
I think everybody likes to talk through what they're going through. And I think people are quite scared to ask a probing question because if we're very British and we don't do that and we keep it all surface level. And actually, you know, especially like when you work with people and you've got time on your own with them and to sort of ask them about something that's maybe going on for them, you realise very quickly they need to talk about it and you just need to give them a bit of space to do that. I'm volunteering with this charity at the minute, which is they're really revolutionising suicide prevention, and they have a 6-month programme, which is really, really successful, which is why I've got involved with them, because there's just nothing out there. And then it's forever support as well. They've been around 30 years and they've put about 700 people through this programme and not one have reattempted.
It's incredible.
And it's really, really clever. It's DBT therapy. Do you know it?
Okay, yes.
So it's a course of DBT therapy over 6 months, but alongside a really good community charity, so that you become basically lifelong support. And they also offer a programme for their support. So their mum or their partner.
I see.
And that person in their life, because, you know, I needed support to be the support. And I was getting therapy myself and private therapy and paying for it, but a lot of people don't have that. And so they get involved with that as well, which is what really inspired me, because I've never heard that before, where they can look at the whole picture, and that's why it actually stops people attempting. And DBT therapy is, you know, they're not doing reflective therapy or talking therapy or going through their trauma with anybody. They're not doing that. There's no time for that. The charity doesn't have the capacity for that. They're just learning skills to regulate their own emotions, and distress tolerance, things like that, and acceptance, and skills that we all need and really struggle with. I think things that we should be taught at school, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Way more important than a lot of the stuff that they teach.
I'm completely with you. You know, to learn how to emotionally regulate is 100 times more important than trigonometry.
Exactly.
You know, but are we taught that in schools? Absolutely not.
It's so old-fashioned.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so this charity, you mentioned the name, but I want to make sure that we
Body
underscore
and
it
Soul.
again. Body and Soul. Okay.
I just want to make a bit of noise for that charity, because actually the way it works is it makes sense. It's really simple. They need lifelong support, not just support
Momentarily.
in the crisis. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We'll help you make that noise.
Thank you.
I think, we'll definitely help you make that noise.
Thank you.
You know, you got it. You know, there's one area also that I'd like to talk about, and it's connected to what you mentioned around when you have a suicide, you have those who have loved the person who's passed begin to point the fingers and blame. So in the research, something that was shocking, and I don't know if this is a rumor, so you can clear this up if it is, but that Caroline's mother, Christine, that there was a falling out between you and her as it relates to Caroline and the care, if you will, for Caroline in the last few days.
Yep.
What actually happened between you two?
Yeah, so my sister and I are really close with Jodie, her twin sister. We actually saw her at Glastonbury. And hopefully we'll stay in touch forever. Obviously, we were together on that day and she knows who we are and where we are. And I think what's really hard with with parents, it does cause conflict because it's the worst case scenario for anybody for that to happen to your child. And all you're going to do is think, whose fault was it? Which I understand. And I think a lot of fingers get pointed at partners. That's happened a few times that I've known about as well. And for me, where I sat in the Caroline situation was, I know what happened. I was there. I know what I'm comfortable with. I personally just don't blame anybody, and I panic about blame because it creates, again, another vulnerable person who has to take that on their shoulders and the trauma of that for the rest of their lives, especially publicly. And so, without going into anything private, I personally have just tried my best to stay away from any sort of conversations about who was in the wrong or whatever. And I think that in this situation, people kind of come together and do that as a way of trying to fight it and deal with it, I suppose, and as part of the grief process.
Yes.
But I had a relationship with everybody in that situation, which became impossible, really.
Fair. Have you spoken with Christine, who's Caroline's mother? Have you spoken with Christine since Caroline's passing?
No.
So there's one more area that I'd love to talk to you about, and then anything else that you want to talk about. And that is, you could probably guess it. Can you guess it? Andy.
Oh, yeah, my boyfriend. We could talk about Andy. Because you're football, no?
Oh, yes.
So you own Sutton.
Absolutely.
So what league are you?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, because we're Dagenham and Redbridge now, so Andy's just invested.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we're National League?
Oh, we're National South. We're below you.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Look at
that.
And he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing. He's player on Investor, which is actually one of the first in Europe.
I tell you what, and can I say this about Andy? Can I brag on Andy a little bit? Because I thought this was the case, but I didn't know this was the case. Is that your boyfriend Andy, in 2011, he became the most expensive British footballer at the time when he was bought by Liverpool from Newcastle for a measly £35 million.
Yeah, how good is that?
Oh man, come on, Andy.
We met at a really nice time in both our lives. I think we're both really in the same place. He's got teenage kids, I've got a teenage daughter, and he's got some little ones as well. And we just really he has the same outlook as me. And I've never met a lover like that. I've got friends who were just on the same page, but I've never had a boyfriend like that. And I just found him really refreshing. I didn't think that he would be like he is.
So do you believe that we will see a Lou Andy marriage?
I would really like to marry him, yes. So we'll see, but he is still married.
My gosh, he's still married.
Yeah. And I hope that's not insensitive as well, but we've had to try and take it slow, and we were really in love. And the tabloids, again, he brings a lot of tabloid drama, that man. They are obsessed with him.
Yes.
Everything he does.
You know what I find so interesting about you, Lou, is that you have lived this life that has been filled with the highest profile people in the world. Literally. You know, when I was doing research, I'd see you interviewing Kendall Jenner, maybe, or Harry Styles, you with all of these people. But yet you have remained just super chill.
I'm quite private, but with social media, so I've got a lot of followers, but really you can control that. It's not until the tabloid press get involved, you lose control. I've been spoken to by my agent about shows like Celebs Go Dating and that kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Which would maybe put me in a celebrity category if I wanted to go that way with my profile and probably make more money and that kind of thing, or go to different kind of things. And I've never done it as much as I probably would have gone on Maths because it's my favourite programme. Obsessed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't need to now, but there was a point where I was like, I'd actually quite enjoy that experiment, I think. But I've never gone down that road.
How would you compare the negative articles, say, on Andy versus the negative articles, say, on Caroline?
Now that I know him, a lot of it is really unfair on him too, which does disprove what I'm saying. I think that with Caroline and things like Meghan Markle, for example, I find it so frustrating because, you know, they're talking about a man's behaviour with Meghan Markle, but blaming the woman, and it just is still going on like that, even after what happened to, you know, their mother and what happened to her. They just still get away with doing it.
Yeah, and with Meghan, you're referring to which man?
Harry.
Down here. Oh, you're saying
Yeah,
his behavior.
yeah. I mean, I love Harry, and I think that what he's done is support his wife, but they're sort of trying to attack him for leaving the royals and abandoning the royals, but blame her.
I see.
And I've just find that crazy.
Yeah, there's there is a double standard in every aspect of life. Like it's just baked into society. But I'm optimistic on the future and where we're going. I don't know if we'll get there in my lifetime, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that we'll get there. You know, I truly do. Can I ask you just one question out of curiosity? You've met some incredible people in your life.
Yeah.
Who has pleasantly surprised you? Like a big star that you met and you thought, I don't know how this is going to go, and they just pleasantly surprised you.
We were once in the dressing room and there was like a couple of kids, and I spent all day with this woman and she was so nice. And then she left and I was just like, how nice was she? And I was like, doesn't she look like Cindy Crawford? And Harry was like, are you joking? And I was like, what? He was like, that was Cindy Crawford. And I was like, and I'm not normally that ditzy either, but I just was sat chatting to her as if she was just a normal person. Obviously, she's a normal person, but I didn't realise it was Cindy Crawford. I thought she was just a really pretty woman.
Yes.
And she was just so nice and normal. And I was moaning and like just being like that, and she was and doing the same. And I think it was because I didn't know who she was, then she was probably enjoying me.
Yes.
And like her kids were there and stuff, and mine was there, and that was me being really stupid. But I remember thinking she was really nice.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for you too. Because
Yeah.
you would otherwise, if you knew it was her, you would
Probably would have been weird, yeah.
All right, so what celebrity now do you believe has the best hairstyle?
Woman for my inspo has always been Zoe Kravitz, and now Harry's going out with Zoe Kravitz, and I just think they're so fucking cool. Aren't they? I keep seeing like pictures of them and I'm like, they are cool.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty much as cool as it gets.
Yeah, it doesn't get any cooler.
So then, final question, okay? If you think back through your life, you think about all of the incredible conversations you've had. Which conversation was the most memorable? Who was it with? What did you learn?
So when I first went into Body and Soul, to tie it back to Body and Soul, I was doing a tour and they were showing me all the different parts, and they have all different like community aspects of the charity. So they work with children who are adopted and families who have adopted. They work with immigrants. They work with people affected by HIV, and then also they have the suicide prevention. So there's all the different aspects of the charity. And one of the guys that worked there, he gave me this like hand-drawn picture of a bison, and he was asking me if I wanted it, and it's like a sort of a symbol for the charity. And I said, oh, yeah, it's lovely, thank you. And you know, they're all trying to give me things and whatever. And he just said, basically, bison's one of the only animals which, like their natural instinct, when a storm's coming, animals and humans will run away from the storm, and the storm keeps coming, and it kind of slowly gets to you eventually, over time. Whereas a bison, they run into the storm, and they're through it in 5 seconds. And that's why the bison is part of is symbolic for their charity, because it's just about just face it head on. And I remember someone talking to me about facing things a long time ago, and I can't even remember who it is, but I do feel like I try and just face things and deal with it, and I can cope. And quite a lot of people who are spiraling and not coping is because they're running away or avoiding. Even though it's really scary and you naturally run away, I think that's that with me.
There you go. Be a bison.
I've got my little bison next to my bed, yeah.
Be a bison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, Lou, what I've loved most about this conversation is I'm walking away with so many new points of direction for my life. Like be a bison.
Yeah. People who are suffering from depression and worry about the past, and people suffering from anxiety worry about the future. And it's those that can live in the present. And it's just about being able to do that.
Yes.
Takes you away from the anxiety and the depression.
Yes.
And I found that really helpful as well.
Yes. No, it's good. It's so good. It's so good. And when you have these little nuggets, these little tips, these are the things that save our lives, literally save our lives. And I feel like this is your work. And I'm excited to see what the next chapter of your life looks like, because I could see you now doubling down on your advocacy, and literally your work will save lives. So I applaud all the work that you're doing. If there's anything that I can do, further to assist, never hesitate to reach out. And I need you and Andy to come cheer on the mighty Sutton United too.
Oh yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah, we should do one of those, because I'd love to see him at one of our matches.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah, done.
And when we get promoted, we'll be playing you.
Or maybe we'll be promoted ourselves.
Or you get relegated.
Conversation over. Conversation over.
Although, thank you very much.
There's one last thing. We like to give surprises,
right,
and gifts.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
I like gifts.
You like a gift? So I have a gift that I'd like to share with you.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for it? This is it.
Yeah.
If you could take a look at that and give that a read for us. Out loud, please.
There's Lou Teasdale with millions of followers, and Lou, who was 1D's hairdresser, who was Caroline's friend, and then there's Lou, our friend and sister. For many years, while Caroline was struggling, Lou dropped everything to be there. She gave all her time, her home, her loyalty, and her energy until the very end. She's the person people go to when life has unravelled and needs somewhere to go, who feels unwaveringly safe. Over the years, I've lost count of the number of people who have ended up at Lou's, friends in turmoil, people who need a break from life to talk to all night long. She has quietly carried people through their darkest moments. By being the cleverest and nicest person in the room, whether she's never met you before or she's your family, she will hold court on equality, fairness and justice with a softness and wisdom that leaves everyone listening. She unknowingly guides the people in her life, young and old, helping them make sense of the world and gives them confidence and perspective. When I asked for help with body and soul, I think I meant some Instagram post, but she ended up turning up in the therapy to work hands-on with the young people and be part of the team running the program. Sidekick of dreams, we all need a Lou. Is that from Emma?
That is from someone closer. Well, I want to say closer. It's from your sister.
Oh, it's from Sam. Don't, because I'll cry. She's sat in there. We're twins, but we're never nice to each other. So she's never said anything nice to me, so that's really nice.
But really, how does that feel to know that that's exactly how she feels about you?
I know that she does. And I know that she sees me. But we just don't say it. We're just a bit British like that. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that was a beautiful letter.
Yeah.
And I think what she was saying in it is, I see you, I appreciate you, and I love you.
You had to make me cry. I did the whole thing without crying.
I now challenge you
Mm-hmm.
to say, I love you.
Mm-hmm. She knows, but yeah, it's unspoken. Andy actually told me this because we're both from up north in England, and the Northerners are so different to the Southerners. I don't know if you realise this.
Yes.
But like as characters are so different. And he says that Southerners will be nice to your face, but talk behind your back. Whereas Northerners are horrible to your face, but really nice behind your back. And they just can't do it face to face. But really, as soon as you're not there, they absolutely love you. Brilliant person, but they can't say it to the face.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like that too.
Okay. Do you accept my challenge?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Done.
I'd
Done.
appreciate
All right.
it.
Pinky promise.
Yes, I
Pinky promise. All
I
right.
appreciate
All
that.
right, I
Thank
got
you.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Lou Teasdale. Lou is the first person I've heard talk about the rise of One Direction in tandem with the rise of social media, and how they were one of the first groups that could break a market without going to the market. I thought, just from a nerdy music perspective, that was pretty interesting. From listening to Lou's perspective, it's hard to understand how she could have done anything differently. I thought Lou was very respectful for Caroline's family. And you could see it's because of the love that she has for Caroline in particular. I thought that there were many moments where Lou gave some great instruction to all of us in terms of what we could do, whether it is on just generally life when she talked about being the bison, but also with regard to our loved ones. And that is asking probing questions, checking in. How are you? How are you really? Don't give me the everything's fine. No, how are you really? I'm here for you, holding space. I think that's something that we can all take, and that will help every relationship we have, is to ask more probing questions of the people we love.